Well, the federal government recently approved the sale of Narcan over the counter, and this is a life-saving medication that can reverse potentially fatal opioid overdoses. But to understand just how important Narcan is, you need to understand just how dangerous fentanyl is and how quickly it can take someone's life. A Placer County mom heard her son snoring loudly down the hallway right from her bedroom. She opened the door, checked it, and just thought that he was sleeping really hard. Never in a million years did she think he was actually dying.
He was just this bright, happy-go-lucky little boy, big old goofy smile. He was just full of life, full of energy, just a really cool little kid. But he struggled. He struggled with his mental health. He told me once that he met his first weed dealer 3 weeks after starting high school and never looked back.
I mean, that was something that you knew, you were aware of, and that's what he was working on. You said he even got a job.
So after high school, he was able to get into a local union, and he was working towards electrician apprenticeship, and that changed everything for him. There was this light, this lift. After years of watching him struggle, we finally went, we've turned the corner. He's going to make it. It was a Thursday night, and we'd had a great conversation about him being clean and sober and moving forward. We both went to bed about the same time, around 10:30, 11, and I got up at 1 in the morning to come downstairs and get a drink of water, and I heard a noise from his room. He didn't answer when I knocked on the door, so I opened it to go in and just check on him. What it sounded like was really loud snoring. I'm looking at him thinking, that doesn't look right. But at the same time, I'm thinking, you're sleeping off a hangover. But nothing that triggered me to say I need to call 911 right now. I now know I was watching him an overdose. I didn't recognize the symptoms, and he never regained consciousness. I found him the next day in his bed, how I'd left him the night before. Understanding and knowing what an overdose looks like, for me, is a critical part of this. Because if I'd known then what I know now, I would have taken action. Drugs never even crossed my mind. I mean, this was August 2020. We were in the midst of the beginning of the pandemic, and I'm thinking maybe he's gotten sick, maybe something's gone wrong. We found out afterwards that he had told his younger brother that he had bought a Percocet that day, and he was going to take it to relieve his anxiety. He was trying to get better. He was self-medicating. He was not doing it the right way. It wasn't until we got the coroner's report 2 weeks later, and there was nothing in his system. No alcohol, no other drugs. The only thing in his system was fentanyl. I don't know why I didn't take action that night. But if I knew then what I was looking at. It's a hell of a thing, burying your child, you know. You don't ever think you're going to have to do that. So we bought his lot, and then we bought the one next door as well for Mike and I. So this will be our final resting place with him. There are several young folk right around us who all died from fentanyl. And it was really interesting the longer you sit out here and you start talking and you realize just how widespread and how prevalent that is. Right in this little section of the cemetery, there's several young folks who all died from fentanyl. I don't know how we get our arms around it. I don't know how we stop it. When I go to his graveside and I sit there with him, I imagined that he's sitting like that with me. That's where I picture him sitting right next to me. This is where he is. This is his home.
The federal government recently approved Narcan to be sold over the counter, and it's a medication that can help reverse potentially fatal opioid overdoses. Judy believes this, along with education, will help save lives.
And now you actually keep a Narcan case in your house.
I do, and I've shared them with friends whose family situations might mean they might one day be in need of that. There is no downside to using it. It might not be your child. It might be their friend who's spending the night. It might be your family, a relative, a stranger lying on the street. Recognizing what an overdose looks like and taking action, I think, is the biggest message I want to convey, because I don't want any parent to go through what he did throughout all of his struggles. That sweet, cool little kid was still there. I know he was 21 when he died, but he was still my little kid. And if my experience, if his experience can help anyone, then I'm glad to be able to share this message with them.
And if you could say anything to Ian, what would you say to him?
I would say I'm so sorry. I would say I am so sorry, son. And I miss you. Yeah, it's been 2.5 years. And you learn to live with the grief. But it is still so raw and so visceral. It's like it was today. And I'm so sorry.
Judy was clear with me that her son wasn't what she called a poster child. He struggled. But I do want to be clear that just because someone is struggling, that doesn't mean that they don't need help. And that's where education and access comes into play, because everybody deserves to be treated like a human being. And Judy agreed with me on that, saying that everyone is deserving of our compassion and our care. And care is exactly what we're talking about after the break. What does an overdose look like? And the life-saving drug that will soon be over the counter. Before the break, we shared the story of Ian Walsh. He was just 21 years old when he died from an accidental fentanyl overdose. And I sat down with his mom, who believes that she could have saved her son had she known what to look for. And there's a powerful tool that could have saved Ian's life: Narcan. It's a medication that can reverse potentially fatal opioid overdoses. And it was recently approved for over-the-counter use by the FDA. So I sat down with the doctor to learn the signs of an overdose and how to use Narcan to save a life.
On a daily basis, we see multiple opiate overdoses come into the ER. Overdoses can look very different depending on the drug. For central nervous system depressants, things like opiates, alcohol, benzos, those can all look very similar, and those all look like the person is sleeping. And so it's like snoring, sometimes it's gurgling, they won't really wake up when you shake them or you rub them. For opiates specifically, when you look at their pupils will be really, really small. And so that's something that paramedics or ER doctors will commonly check to see if we're concerned about an opiate overdose. If you're concerned about it, the first step would be trying to wake them up. You shout their name, you shake their shoulder. Sometimes you can rub their chest really hard, and that can cause a painful stimuli and make them wake up. If you see someone that's unconscious and you can't wake them up, and you have even a slight suspicion of an overdose, on top of calling 911, I, as a doctor, would just give Narcan. Narcan is a medication that is an opiate antagonist, meaning that it reduces or reverses the effects of an opiate. This is what Narcan looks like. It has 2 nasal sprays in here. It's good for about 3 years from when you buy it. There's some studies showing that it may be better longer. This is what it looks like. You can see it's just one-use nasal spray. Once you press it, you can't unpress it, and you just press where it's red. So hold, spray into the nose, one solid press, and then that's all. Ideally, you want it to go up the nose, so if the patient is sitting up like this, it'll just drip out, so you want to tilt their head back a little bit. That's really the only consideration. But it takes a couple seconds for it to work in, so make sure you call 911, monitor them. And there's a second one in case you need to use it. There's no effect. You use it again in 2 to 5 minutes. If it does nothing, then it helps you understand that maybe opiates aren't the underlying problem and they need more medical care. But it's not going to cause any harm to the patient themselves. When someone overdoses from an opiate, even if we save their life with Narcan, they're still at a risk for overdosing. About 20% of those overdoses happen within the next 30 days, so they're concentrated in a short time span, and then 20% of those also happen within the next 48 hours. So even after you save someone from an overdose, it's really important to address the underlying problem of whatever caused them to overdose. And whenever you use something new, any sort of new medication, there's always concern, right? It's something unfamiliar to you. And this is one of the safest medications that exists. And so I think it's really important that everyone have it somewhere on hand if you're concerned about anyone around you possibly ever having an opiate overdose.
And again, Narcan can reverse an overdose from opioids. That includes drugs like heroin, fentanyl, and prescription drugs like oxycodone. And Narcan will be available over the counter by late summer. We don't have many details yet, but pricing today ranges from anywhere to $20 to $60 for those 2 doses. And you can find more information and resources at abc10.com/tothepoint. All right, after the break, Governor Newsom has been hopping around the country to spread a message, but others are asking, what about the work there is to do here at home? 20 police officers across the state are facing the possibility that they may never work in law enforcement again because of a new state law. And the list includes officers accused and convicted of rape, extortion, and drug use, including an officer in Stockton. And the point of this law is to make sure that they can't get a job in law enforcement somewhere else. Morgan Reiner has the details.
It's a list that no one in law enforcement wants to be on. A list that means they may never be a police officer again.
I can assure you it's way more than 20 officers that we've seen so far.
It's part of a law that started in January, Senate Bill 2, allowing the state's Commission of Peace Officer Standards, or POST, to decertify police officers if they've committed a crime. The bill was authored by Senator Stephen Bradford.
SB 2 is designed to stop the wash, rinse, and repeat cycle, which I've stated, which allows officers to resign from a department before being convicted of a crime and start their behavior all over again in a different department.
The names were submitted by local law enforcement agencies.
Just of these 20 that have been submitted so far, sexual assault, destroyed evidence, firing weapons at a public location outside of a bar, stealing drugs, falsifying evidence. We should all agree these individuals aren't deserving of wearing the uniform, let alone the badge, as a law enforcement officer here in California.
On the list now is former Stockton Police Sergeant Nicholas Blode. Multiple women came forward accusing him of sexual misconduct while on duty. The attorney representing Blode says all the encounters were consensual.
Consideration for decertification. It's not automatic, it's consideration.
Post has not reviewed any of the names yet, but if they do decide to decertify an officer, there is an appeals process.
There may be no handcuffs, no mugshot, and no bail, but former President Trump is officially a criminal defendant. And this is the first time in American history a U.S. president, current or former, has faced criminal charges. Trump pled not guilty to 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. That's in relation to the hush money he paid to porn star Stormy Daniels back in 2016 over an alleged affair. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg laid out in his indictment that Trump's alleged payments to Daniels were part of a pattern.
Donald Trump and others made 3 payments to people who claimed to have negative information about Mr. Trump. The participant scheme was illegal. The scheme violated New York election law, which makes it a crime to conspire to promote a candidacy by unlawful means.
And not long ago, the former president spoke from his Mar-a-Lago residence with a clear message.
And I never thought anything like this could happen in America. Never thought it could happen. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it.
Meanwhile, Governor Newsom has been working on his new initiative, a political action committee known as Fight for Democracy. And he says that extremist Republicans are threatening democracy. So he's been using $10 million left over from his 2022 gubernatorial campaign to make his message to red states like Mississippi and Arkansas, thousands of miles away from the state that he was elected to run.
A lot of people are criticizing for leaving the state and talking to 100 people in Arkansas when there's 6,000 people sleeping on the street at night in Sacramento alone. On the other hand, it might be a good thing for Joe Biden because he's out there whipping up support against the Republicans, saying some things the president probably can about the Republicans.
And this isn't the first time that the governor has taken action in other parts of the country. He ran commercials in Florida targeting GOP leaders last year. And that's got people thinking that he has aspirations to run for president. Although he said before that he will fulfill his term as governor. And as political analyst Steve Swat says,
if in fact he does, have future ambitions like the presidency, he's going to have to run on his record. And that means he's going to have to take care of business here at home. He can't devote too much time to this gallivanting around the country.
Here are some other stories people are also talking about today. 2 people are fighting for their lives after getting pulled out of a house fire that happened around 3:30 this morning in North Highlands. A man and a woman were rescued by a CHP officer who saw flames shooting through the roof of the home. He heard people screaming inside and then jumped into action.
Me and my partner, we started breaking down the fence to get back there. I got a big enough hole so I was able to get through. I ran through the fire. When I saw the first firefighter, he had shown up within a matter of minutes. And then we were able to break the fence down more, and then we were able to get them out of there before they burned up.
The officer said that he could not hear working smoke alarms when he went inside the house. And that's definitely a reminder to change your batteries in your smoke detectors and also close your bedroom door before you go to sleep at night. One person is dead after a crash with an Amtrak train. This happened in Solano County around 9:20 this morning. The train, it was traveling from Sacramento to Emeryville. In a statement, Amtrak says that none of the passengers or crew on the train were hurt. And former longtime West Sacramento Mayor Christopher Calbadon is running for State Senate District 3. He was the first openly gay Filipino elected mayor in the U.S. That got him featured on MTV's True Life series. And he was also the longest serving LGBT mayor in the country, serving West Sacramento for 22 years from 1998 to 2020. All right, let's get a check of our weather here with Carly. How are things looking for this week?
We are looking at some sunshine throughout your work week. So some good news for a lot of people looking for that sun. But in the big mountain backyard, still a little bit breezy right now with temperatures in the mid to upper 50s, 59 in Sacramento with 30 degrees in Tahoe. Now with our weather headlines, mostly dry and sunny this week, at least the work week, before that rain is expected to arrive on Friday into your weekend as well. A frost advisory in effect through at least tomorrow morning. And we are seeing this weekend with some Easter showers. Yeah, I know a lot of people wanting that sunshine for Easter, but we may be seeing that last a little bit longer than we'd hoped. High pressure in place is leading to that sunshine, but that cold air coming in from the north is also leading now to that frost advisory. And that'll bring temperatures anywhere from 31 to about 36 degrees. So you want to protect, of course, your pets, but also those sensitive vegetation you might have outside right now. You can bring that in. We'll see again that frost advisory in effect from about Redding all the way down past Modesto until 9 a.m. on Wednesday. Now, the next system expected to arrive overnight from Thursday night to early morning Friday, and then that'll continue at least through lunchtime. Now, we'll still see some flurries in the Sierra, but the next system that could arrive late Saturday night through Sunday, and this one may stick around just a little bit longer than the Friday one. Take a look as it takes its time moving out. We may see the best time for the Easter egg hunts actually in the evening hours on Sunday. So keep locked here on ABC 10, so we'll give you the further updates on whether that system moves in quicker or kind of stalls out. I know we've been seeing them stall out quite a bit. Our Easter forecast for the Bay Area, low 60s with still that rain, 69 in the valley, a little bit of a warmer system with the Easter showers. In the foothills, showers at 64. The Sierra, a mix of rain and snow at 36 degrees. And that 10-day forecast, well, we are seeing those showers arriving on Friday morning, should end by early into the afternoon hours. A break on Saturday, partly sunny, and then you are looking at Easter there for your Sunday with some showers with more sunshine back into the forecast through next week. We'll be right back.
We know we covered a lot this evening, from what to look for if you see someone overdosing to police officers being blocked from law enforcement jobs. and the governor's tour of red states. So reach out if you have any questions or comments. You can always send us an email at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can send us a text at 916-321-3310, and we'll sign you up for our group text so you can stay in the loop with what we're working on. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.